unfortunately pushing at the wrong time.
A poker tournament is a mind game. It's about knowing when to change gears and sensing that sometimes you just need to get out of the way. Are you ready for tournament poker at the world's largest poker site, PokerStars.com?
4 players remain, with O Totoro having left us in 5th and collecting $127,000 for his trouble. And those are the 4 questing to be the winner of Event 22 in this year's WCOOP. Always Felted and People's Champ, the 2 North Americans, with the big chip lead. But of course, it can all change. We've seen it many times before. Let's see how we go. 1, 2, 5, 250 blinds, which means that the 2 chip leaders are nudging up towards 100 big blinds, remarkably, in 4-handed play. Skylar's Ash in trouble and looking for a hand. But with 4 million chips, he's not critical, just short in terms of the other players. People's Champ will flat call with 9s. And we'll see if he adopts the same policy as in the earlier hand of check calling Always Felted, which basically operate on the principle that he never has anything until proven otherwise. Always Felted will bet this flop, and People's Champ will check raise. So taking a slightly different approach. Obviously feels that Always Felted will continue with worse. Well, he won't just continue. He'll 3-bet Always Felted, this time saying, I do have the goods. And People's Champ will call. Well, Sky, Lars, Ash and Kevin Knock will be loving this. Hoping these two get into a big encounter. And it might happen here. Does Always Felted continue with his aggression? He's made the 3-bet semi-bluff on the flop with his 2 overcards. He could take a free card here and obviously hope to hit. Presumably will assume that he's behind once People's Champ calls his 3-bet on the flop. The King of Diamonds won't get it done. People's Champ checks. I Always Felted only has ace high here. He must know People's Champ has better than that, but can he really bluff in this spot? Tough to think of a hand that he'd play this way. Yeah, he agrees. Doesn't feel like he can bluff. And People's Champ with the 9s once again holds over Always Felted and will extend his chip lead over 28 million to him. This time Always Felted has a monster on the button, which he's not going to get a lot of credit for, of course, given how many hands he's opened. So it's like a good spot for Sky Lars Ash to put some money in. Yeah, all of it goes in. I guess he's a little bit unlucky that Always Felted has a big hand here, and even more unlucky that it's one that dominates his. But I guess also that that's what you get for being the short stack. It's a 25% chance of staying in this thing. That flop is no real help. Queen of Clubs, again, doesn't do anything for him. And he'll need to find a 10 on this river. 9 is 1 short, just over 7 million chips to Always Felted. Sky Lars Ash disappears in 4th spot, the Canadian player, scoring $169,500 and leaving these 3 players with a shot at the title, at which point they would decide to do a deal and chop up the money. Huge money, of course, and they've battled through so many players, you can understand them reducing the variance a bit. Straight after the deal, Kevin Knock would double through Always Felted and leave us with an intriguing situation. All 3 stacks very close to each other. Still playing for a decent amount of money, of course, and still playing for the title and the bracelet. Let's see who's got it where it counts. 150,000, 300,000 blinds as we watch hand 150. And Always Felted as he's done throughout this final table. Opening a ton. Of course, opening almost anything on the button 3-handed is never be that bad, can it? Especially with all that money in the middle. People's Champ will defend with the Queen Jack and flop a gut shot and 2 overs. Always Felted will flop nothing. bet and a call. Quick call from People's Champ. And 9 gives him the nuts. Well, it's his dream card. It does also bring Always Felted a straight draw, but not much else. People's Champ will check. Always Felted thinking about this one. He will shut things down on the turn. Hope to hit his straight. Very little chance of that happening. 3 of hearts is not his straight. People's Champ will bet. And that should be an end to this hand, you'd have thought. Always Felted hasn't folded yet. He makes the raise. Well, I have to say, I'm not sure about that raise. Unless it's one of those raises where he thinks People's Champ does shove the nuts, and we know Always Felted can't continue. Unless it's one of those raises where he thinks, well, People's Champ might have missed his draw, and People's Champ could be, you know, bluffing something like King High or Ace High. So maybe it's a raise designed to get him off those hands. Of course, it doesn't work because he has the nuts. It's quite hard to get someone off the nuts, I find. I should probably try it less, of course. Always Felted will raise from the small blind in hand 152. Kevin Knock with the monster. Will rebet. And Always Felted shoves very quickly. Blind on blind. You can understand why, but he's in a dominated spot. And after dominating his final table for some time, he could be out in third here. Needs to get very lucky. And he does get lucky, but so does Kevin Knock. Another 7 needed for Always Felted. Drawing super thin as we hit the river. And the 6 of clubs means he hits the rail. Always Felted will finish third after bringing us a lot of entertainment with some enterprising creative play. He cashes for just over $350,000. And Kevin Knock, who was short stacked for much of this final table, enters the heads up, just slightly behind People's Champ. So this one could really go either way. As we've seen with other WCOOPs as well, they've got a ton of chips. Not your standard end of tournament fare, this. Almost 100 big blinds each. So a chance for the two of them to really play for this title. Kevin Knock flops trips. But tough to see how he makes a lot of money here. People's Champ will bet. And Kevin Knock will just call, which I think is pretty standard on that drier board. People's Champ will fire again. Just trying to get Kevin Knock off, I don't know, some kind of pocket pair. Kevin Knock will raise, and People's Champ calls. Well, People's Champ not believing. Does hold King High on a very dry board. Obviously feels that Kevin Knock is capable of floating that flop and then raising the turn. And it's a big, big pot. Well, the 8 double pairs things. Turns Kevin Knock's trips into a full house. Kevin Knock shoves. Well, if People's Champ calls this, obviously it's a disaster for him. We can see that. And he does eventually decide that Kevin Knock's not floating the flop, raising the turn and shoving the river with nothing. But a decisive pot potentially gives Kevin Knock the chip lead, and things would keep going his way. As we rejoin things in hand 167, he has a big chip lead. And a nice matchup for him here. Ace-10 versus King-5 with the spades covered. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, what a cruel flop that is for People's Champ. Depending on how they play it, the money could easily go in here. People's Champ will check. Kevin Knock bets. People's Champ is going to play this fast. Well, Kevin Knock with a nut flush draw. Yeah, no hesitation. Ace and 10 could also be working. People's Champ calls. He's going to be mortified when he sees the hand he's up against. Needs to hit a non-spade, King or 5, without Kevin Knock improving. Well, can't hit the 5 now. And this title could be heading to Australia. 3 of diamonds changes nothing. And Kevin Nock will win event 22 of the WCOOP 2010. Little mini cooler at the end of the heads up there. He got the cards when it counted. Was short stacked for some of the final table right until we got to four-handed play. Then a rush of cards gives him the win. And it's a big win too. $340,000 and change, and that WCOOP bracelet. There's details of the payouts. Kevin Nock, the champion from Australia. The 2 Americans who held the 2 big stacks at the time of the chop, as you can see from the money there, 2nd and 3rd. Big event. They're all big events in the WCOOP, but this 2-day marathon, almost 6,000 players finally over, and brought some great entertainment at the final table. There'll be another WCOOP event very soon. Hope you're getting involved and playing these fantastic tournaments and satelliting for the bigger ones, including the main event, which of course is what we're building towards. Hope you've enjoyed this one. For everyone here at PokerStars.tv, I'm Nick Wealthall. Catch you very soon.